Are we live? Can people hear me? Hello, hello. What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Thursday. What's going on? Let's see here. Getting all my ducks in a row. May take a second, but I think I got stuff going right. Pulling up. First ever gear over beers. Got a good beer lined up for tonight. I'll talk about that in a little while. Gear wise, I figured we'd talk about things like electronic shifting. I'm sure that's everybody's favorite topic. I mean, it I guess can be a little controversial, but not as controversial as, say, tubeless versus tube tires, or e-bikes versus analog bikes. But I'm sure, I'm almost positive, that there are some folks out there that just don't believe in it. There's others that solely, took the hook and ran with it. And then there's folks that are in between that don't really care one way or the other. So still sorting things out. Hoping that we got sound stuff straightened out. Let me get a sound check. Still sorting things out. And it sounds like we've got sound, and it's synced up to my mouth. Unlike the test that we did the other night. So, yeah. But yeah, electronic shifting. One of the newest things out there. Both Shimano and SRAM are doing it, which is, I guess, good. I happen to have both, and plus I have a couple bikes that are analog and a couple bikes that are just single speed. They have no shifting. So I have a little bit of insight on both the Di2 and SRAM's axis. And Di2 is on my Lenski road bike, and the SRAM axis is on my Y Cycles R Plus gravel bike. And then no gears on the mountain bike, and then my bike packing rig does have a mechanical 10-speed mountain bike shifting on it, and I've got Tiagra mechanical on my trainer bike. So put a poll out there in the chat, check it out, vote on it. Which one do you prefer, or do you really even care? Yeah. And I'm sure there's, I mean, to me there's pros and cons to both. Electric shifting and the mechanical shifting. I've been in situations with mechanical where it failed. I've been on the trainer bike where it completely stopped working altogether. Had to, like, actually the cable just disintegrated and fell apart in the shifter. Have not had, knocking on some wood there, any issues with my electronic shifting, other than just needing to do some minor index adjustments and stuff like that, which are fairly simple. On the SRAM, you do it via an app on your phone, and the Di2 that I have, which is an old 8000 series, you gotta hold a sequence down of buttons on the little computer, the brains for it, and then you can move it back and forth, and I think in 3mm increments, one way or the other. But Simple, easy enough to do, and yeah, don't mind them whatsoever. I think I like the electronic shifting, and definitely think going forward, if budget allows, having electronic shifting on bikes in the future. I don't have any plans for any bike purchases anytime soon, and I'm probably due for a little bit longer travel full suspension mountain bike at some point. Not going to do anything crazy. Probably stick to about 120 front and rear, and I would love for it to have SRAM axis 12 speed. Just think it makes sense, and I've already got a couple batteries. I can always buy more batteries for those. That's the big difference between like the Di2 and the SRAM axis, is the fact that SRAM has batteries that attach to it, and for the most part everything's wireless. That does mean that you do have batteries in your shifter that you have to keep an eye on. I know people who've had those shifter batteries go dead. They're the CR2032s or whatever, the coin size batteries that you would use in your heart rate monitors, and speed sensors, cadence sensors, and things like that. So it's a pretty common battery that you can find. The actual shifting battery is proprietary, but everything that they have that's electronic uses it. So if you had a dropper post and you wanted an axis dropper post, and it would use the same battery, which means that you don't necessarily need to use that dropper post all the time. And if your battery in your derailleur goes bad or dead or whatever, you just pull the battery off your dropper and slap it in there, and you're back to shifting and not being single speed in a potential hard gear or something like that. So yeah, the Di2, you're still running wires to a central brain. My battery in my Di2 is down in the seat tube, or the down tube, or the seat tube, and you do have a wire that runs to the front derailleur, the rear derailleur. So there's still something that hangs out that could be snagged, but the wire is fairly thin and tucks away nicely. Kind of unlike the mechanical, it doesn't stretch, so you don't have to worry about that. And that's one of the I got a list of pro and cons for both of them, and could go through those here in a second. But checking in. Hopefully anybody out there hear me okay. If not, say something in chat. There is a poll, mechanical or electronic or single speed. I didn't put one out there for you guys that just don't care. You got to pick one of the three topics, so vote. I see that mechanical has a vote of 100% right now. Probably only one vote out there, but yeah. So yeah, first ever episode. It's episode number 1 of Beer Over Gear Talk, or Gear Over Beer Talk. I don't know, which one do we want to call it? I think it should be beers. So I'd like to have a couple of them. I only brought one down with me though, and I guess we could dive into the beer thing real quick, right? So today's episode is going to be brought to you by Wise Man. Wise Man Beer. It's a local brewery here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I think it's one of the best breweries that we have in the Triad area. Sam is a good friend from home brewing. Ryan, their head brewer, same. Great guy, great brewery, really good stuff there. And this is called Heaven's Climate, based off of a John Wayne, based off of a Mark Twain quote. And I'm gonna butcher the quote, so I need to find it. I think it's on the can. I think it is simply, "You go to heaven for the climate and hell for the company." They also have an imperial stout that they brew that's, I think, called Hell's Company, and this one's called Heaven's Climate. Great American stout. I picked this up at our local grocery store at Lowe's, but I'll probably find it elsewhere. I'm not sure how far out they distribute or anything like that, but it's I've yet to have anything bad from Wise Man. If you're local to the area and know our Winston-Salem Greenway system, you'll also know that the Greenway almost dumps out at Wise Man. You do have to go a couple blocks away from there, but it's almost there. It's really cool. But yeah, American Stout, really nice, roasty. Does have a nice creamy head on that. Nice and dark, as you can see, or can't see through it, but you can definitely see that it's nice and dark, so it's a good beer. Super roasty. Good beer to have when talking about cycling gear, which is what we're here to do this Thursday night. So yeah, pros and cons over electronic shifting versus mechanical shifting. We already know that single speed and no shifting is A, cult, and B, more than just a way of life. And if I had my way when it comes to mountain biking, single speed is the way to go. For me, most of the time, I absolutely love it. Around here, single speed is all you really need. Hardtail, a little bit of travel in the front, or you can go rigid. Do something a little bit meatier tire-wise up front if you got the room or boost, and don't even need a shock for a lot of the stuff around here. But single speed is the way to go when it comes to mountain biking, for sure, around here. You know, just from a standpoint of electronic shifting, I mean, is anybody out there, you know, if you're watching this on the replay as well, please feel free to comment down below. I'll respond to everything and just get a feel for what you have. But you know, do you currently have any electronic shifting? And if you do, have you ever forgot to charge it? I have yet to forget to charge both the SRAM with the external batteries and the Di2 with the internal battery. I have pretty much so charged it every single time that I needed to. And also too, yeah, with having both, I haven't forgot a battery yet. I do carry a spare when I can, and think that keeping and having a spare is crucial. It's key. Definitely something that you need to have for sure, just in case something crazy happened to that battery. That battery does hang off the back of your derailleur, so I've seen, you know, you've seen those pictures of snakes, excuse me, wrapped up all in your chain or in somebody's chain and rear cassette and derailleur. I'm sure a battery can get punctured and all that kind of good stuff. So carrying a spare is not probably a bad idea. They're super small, and you know, they'll fit in a pocket. You can probably, you know, if you've got some form of bag, tool bag or something like that, you could easily just slide one in there. It's just remembering to grab it on the way out the door, right? So, but have you ever forgot the battery and altogether and not had a battery get to a ride? Now, I've yet to do that. I have forgotten shoes and helmets and gloves, glasses, warmer clothes. Done that a few times. But have yet to forget a battery. So knock on wood, we're always charged and we always have batteries. Also, have you, you know, if you've got electronic shifting, have you ever had any of the shifting fail on you? You know, like, does it just stop working even though there's a charge? Do you hear like some weird funky noises? Is it grinding? Is the stepper motors just not moving it one way or the other? You know, I've yet to hear of any horror stories of it just not working called out there, but I have heard folks say that their battery's gone dead in the past and they've had to go single speed from that point on. Doesn't sound fun if it's not in the right gear, right? You know what, this would be a good one for comments too. If you do have electronic shifting, either or, SRAM or Di2, and I'm sure there's, I'm not sure, is Campy making anything electronic yet? I'm sure they've got to be making something electronic. It's just Campy's just never on my radar for anything, so I don't really follow what they have. But what's the one thing you like about electronic shifting? If you have it and you like it, what is the one thing you like about it the most? You know, for me, it's definitely not having a cable that stretches. and wears out and has to be replaced. And for whatever reason, I've yet to meet anybody outside of a couple of guys who do touring carry cable and cable housing with them. So if anything happens in that aspect of it, you're pretty much done for the day. Where, you know, with electronic, there is no cable to stretch. There is no, you know, minor adjustments for that. I know on my trainer bike, I put a lot of miles on the trainer, and I got a video, talk about controversial. I got a video coming up probably next week. I'll probably do a live stream about it too, on trainers. But my trainer bike has 30-some thousand miles on it or something ridiculously crazy like that. And it has to be adjusted ever so often because of cable stretch. So it's like the cable stretches and it just doesn't shift the way that it should. Do a little barrel adjustment, you know, quarter turn, half turn, we're good to go, and everything's back to shifting normal. Kind of the same thing with my wife's bike. She's got a mechanical Apex 1 on her Salsa Journeyman, and kind of the same thing. It's like, you know, you get to a point where that cable is stretching or the housing starts to wear a little bit and it just doesn't shift the way you want to, so you just tighten the barrel adjustment. You don't have to worry about anything like that with the electronic shifting. I have yet, so I bought the Linsky road bike with Di2 back in 2018, and I have only had to do minor adjustments to it, and I think it was simply because the bike fell over and I bent the hanger, and I just had to do a minor adjustment after the hanger was bent back, a slight little adjustment to get it to line back up and start shifting good, and it's been shifting good ever since. Also thought at that time too that it could possibly be a weird chain situation, because I also had changed the chain shortly after it had fallen, and then since then I've changed the chain and I still don't have an issue, so I think it's good now. But have yet on a little over a year with the Y Cycles gravel bike, no issues whatsoever. I have gone in and just, you know, tried to do some minor adjustments to see if I can make it shift even better than what it is, but it shifts good. So no complaints or anything like that with it whatsoever. It's great. Let's see, not really much to hate about it, right? From my perspective anyways. I think the shifting, like everything is, I guess if there was something that I would just have to nitpick about it, which I do have this listed as one of the cons for it, is the fact that it ain't cheap. Especially when you start diving into some of the stuff like the SRAM, where you have extra batteries and you need extra batteries for shifting. I do have a little bit of an issue with the 1x setup that I have. I don't like having the shifters on both sides to go up and down since it's a 1x. And my Shimano Di2 is a little different, where you do have the front derailleur on one side and then you have the rear derailleur on the other. I actually have it set up to where it doesn't repeat any type of gear ratio, so it acts like a 1x. So I'm just using one shifter, and then it runs through the whole gear ratios and drops the front derailleur, or picks up the, you know, to the larger chainring on its own. I don't have to do any shifting with that side of it. I can if I need to, but I don't have to. So that's kind of cool. Makes things a little easier on that aspect of it. And like I said, I'm not happy about the SRAM 1x stuff, being that you have two shifters to go back and forth with. And I kind of forget. And when I hop on the Shimano stuff, I just forget that, and I tap it and it drops down to the lower chainring, and I'm spinning like 100 bazillion, you know, revolutions per minute in the middle of a, you know, peloton of some sort in a club ride. So not cool at all. Yeah, so those, I mean, for me, I'd list those out as the pros. You know, things that I like. You know, if you don't have electronic shifting, you stick with mechanical, and I have mechanical too, so I can answer some of these questions myself. But once again, down in the comments, if you're watching the replay, if you're on live right now, just go ahead and drop some stuff in the chat if you want to. But with mechanical, have you ever had your shifting fail? I know back in 2018, I believe it was 2018 April. Yes, Raspatizza up in Vermont. It snowed on us, and this is a gravel ride. I was on my RLT 9er. It's got a 105 2-star build, and front derailleur completely seized up because of ice. It didn't get overly muddy, it just got really icy cold and froze up, and couldn't shift but one direction, which was, you know, to relieve the load off the spring on that. So I think I could drop it down into lower chainring, but I couldn't bring it back up, and it was miserable. I would have to get off the bike, try to shift, you know, at the same time, pull on it, and you know, I could get it to work. You know, it was 30-some degrees, it was snowing, there was ice everywhere. It was absolutely a miserable ride. Fun hindsight, but a miserable ride at the time. So I was in a hurry and I just wanted to get on. And I know my buddy Lee, if you're watching this at some point or watching it in a little while, whatever, I do apologize for being that asshole who just said I'm done with it and I left you. Hindsight 2020, I apologize for that. But it was so miserable, I left everybody. I just wanted to get back to the car, change clothes, warm up, and drink a beer. Speaking of, it's beer time. Matter of fact, I think I even probably started off with a stout that day just because we were in Vermont. It was snowing. We just got off of our gravel bikes, and that only made sense to have a stout, right? But I also had a shifter, the cable in a shifter on my that same gravel bike kind of start to hang up as well. Was up in the Wilson Creek area with my good buddies Ben and Greg and the Chapel Hill folks, and we were doing a nice long, I think it was, good God, we were probably close to an easy 65, 70, 75 mile ride in gravel, and get to the top of, you know, we were about done. We were going to finish, but we get to the top and of climbing a road called Pinola, church at the top. But on the way up there, I realized my shifting for the front again stopped working, and it was actually just all gummed up and gunked up in the shifter itself. We get almost onto the parkway. There's about a 4-mile ride on the parkway, pavement, tarmac, all the way back to the cabin. Excuse me. And I took my water bottles, had a little bit of water left, so I took it and just kind of squirted it down into the housing, and all of a sudden I got the big chain ring again. So that worked out great on the tarmac, because having no chain ring on tarmac, or you know, no big chain ring and on the tarmac, having just a little chain ring on the tarmac would not have been fun trying to get back for 5 miles while everybody else is just hauling butt. So yeah, glad that it worked out for me there. But how about you? Have you had any issues like that before? What did you do to fix that? I mean, was it something that you could fix on the trail, or did you have to, you know, limp it back to the car, back to the starting spot, or even the finishing spot, or just somewhere and phone a friend and get a ride? What'd you have to do? Comment that down below, please, or in the chat. Let's see. Also, too, you know, just because I'd mentioned single speed, how many folks out there stick to single speed just so they don't have gear shifting woes? You know, I mean, there's some logic. There's an argument to be had there, right? You know, you're a single speeder. You don't have to worry about shifting. You either stand up and pedal or you sit down and pedal. And if you're not doing either one of those, you're pushing your bike, right? So, yeah. Once again, we're at the point of beer. American Stouts. So since we're here at beer, hey David, yes, Wise Man, one of the best. The stout, I got it at Lowe's the other day. It is phenomenal. But yeah, can't rave about Wise Man enough. Their beer is top notch. Super clean brewing. Got some of the best IPAs I think around. They definitely have a good stout. They've had a few sours I've absolutely loved. Their Italian pills. When I do my Green Raid rides, I'll come up Long Branch or the Strollway and just kind of come through, part of downtown. And the Italian pills, when you're doing a bike ride and you got to go back, I always start at the marina, or not the marina, but the Linville Road parking lot. So when you got to go back to the car, you don't want to drink a bunch of heavy beers and have to ride 9-10 miles back. So I always try to stick with the light beers. Stop by Radar from time to time. I'll grab some tater tots or something from Foothills and have a beer there at times. And another, like if you want some classic style European beers, lesser known, right? Lesser known is probably one of the better. Might have to get a growler of some of their beer and have a gear over beers or a beer over gear talk, chat, live stream with some lesser known for sure. Well, David, thanks for joining me. But yeah, so back to the electronic shifting. I mean, there's a lot of for the electronic. For me, I found that there's a lot of pros. Kind of some cons, but they didn't bother me too much. And then same thing with the mechanical. I still have a lot of mechanical stuff. So pros for the electric stuff, I think, is SRAM, no wires. You don't have anything to get snagged on anything. There is no wires to stretch. There's no cable adjustments. It's kind of like a set it, forget it kind of thing. When I built out my gravel bike, the Y Cycles R Plus, that was one of the easiest things in the world. Was just all I had to do was just set the adjustment screw, which limiter screw it is, but basically just adjust the distance between the rear derailleur and the cassette, and that was it. Indexing was already there. Indexing was set perfectly. But I did get the Axis Explorer set, group set, so everything came kind of dialed into itself, which was perfect. But yeah, like there's very little adjustment that you have to do. There's no cable stretch, no housings you got to worry about, no housings that you got to blow out with air because stuff gets lodged in there or replace over time, or spend a little extra money on the Jaguar stuff that is a little bit stiffer to give you a little bit more quicker reaction to stuff. Definitely have used the Jaguar stuff on mechanical brakes, disc brakes, just because, once again, I'm not a huge fan of mechanical disc brakes unless the mechanical mechanism is pulling a hydraulic system, kind of like the Spires or something like that. But yeah, just cables in general, I'm not a huge fan of. I mean, like with the SRAM stuff, I think it's a pro for me, anyways, because I'm kind of geeky and nerdy. Being able to do the adjustments and stuff from my phone, Bluetooth to it, I can see my battery life on my shifters, those coin batteries I was talking about earlier, that are in the shifters. I can see the battery life from my phone versus having to finagle some buttons and things like that. I know on the Di2 system that I have, you have to hold down to see what the batteries are in there. Now luckily the battery is, like in the seat tube, powers everything in that whole unit, so you don't have to have extra power anywhere else, unlike the SRAM. That's kind of I guess a pro and con between the two. I just like the feel of the SRAM shifting as well a lot better than I do the Di2 shifting. To me it feels a little more solid, and I feel like it can like it goes in like more effortlessly, where sometimes with mechanical your cables start to stretch and stuff like that, and you kind of have to push it and it clicks, and then you push it just a little bit more, but not quite all the way to the next click. I feel like that with the SRAM stuff, that it just, you just hit a button and it just goes. Hit a button and it goes. Hit a button and it goes. And you hit the other button and it moves back. So that's my take on the SRAM stuff. But I definitely think that the batteries on the SRAM stuff, a pro for that, for the electronic side, the batteries can be shared. Dropper post. If you've got a dropper post on your mountain bike or your gravel bike, or if you're crazy enough to put one on your road bike, because I know people are doing that, that battery is the same as your shifter battery. So if something goes down, your battery goes dead in a shifter, you can pull a battery from that dropper post and put in there. More likely you want shifting before you really need a dropper. So there's kind of that as a pro. Cons, you got to remember to charge it. You got to remember to carry that extra battery with you just in case. The biggest thing though, I think is the biggest con, is it ain't cheap. The electronic shifting is kind of expensive. Not gonna lie. The last bike build I did, I'm ashamed of how much I spent, and I had some parts laying around that I had won from a silent auction, like Cane Creek EE Wing titanium cranks. I already had a set of those, so $1,000 crank set, and I'm still like, that was a big bike build. But yeah, so con wise, I can't come up with anything else. Add something, whether watching this on the replay, add something down in the comments, comment in the chat here. What other cons to the electronic shifting do you know about that that may keep you from switching to it? Like I said, I think it's definitely carrying the batteries or making sure that it's charged, and the cost are the biggest of them. I don't know about the availability of it. I haven't really looked over a year at whether these parts are easy to come by versus mechanical or not. That could be a con or a pro, depending. But switching gears over to the mechanical side of the house. I still think there's some pros and cons to it. I still have bikes that utilize the mechanical aspect of it. I don't foresee me moving. The two bikes that I do have are not going to go to electronic shifting anytime soon. Reasons being, one's a trainer bike. It's never seen outside. The other is my bike packing, mountain bike / bike packing rig. And if I'm going to go on an extended trip, I'm not going to have anything electronic. That I haven't, with doing videos and stuff like that, I got enough stuff already to keep charged or keep up with battery wise or things like that. I don't want the headache of doing that. Plus two, I think there are some things that are easier to repair in the field, especially if you're getting miles, 50, 60, 70 miles away from your car on one day, and then you go another 50, 60, 70 miles from your car starting point, whatever that be. And the next thing you know, you're 150 miles away, and then you're making a loop to come back. There's something to be said about being able to kind of bush repair your bike to make it work and get you through all that, where electronically and just may not be as easy. It just, I don't know. And there's also, you got wire, and you got the housing. Heaven forbid something evil, bad, deathly happens to you. You have something that you could use to tie something up, make a splint for a broken limb or something like that. But not anything I want to think about, right? But yeah, so the pros to mechanical. Cheers, by the way. Cheers. Pros to mechanical. It's tried and true technology, right? It's been around for a long time. Bike mechanics overall, you're not going to run across anybody bike mechanic wise at a bike shop somewhere that doesn't know how to work the mechanical side of the house. You hit the right shop, and they may not know how to manage and support and repair, fix, whatever, some of the electronic stuff. So tried and true technology. I don't know, I want to say that it's probably easier to find the consumable parts, and consumable parts being the cables, the housing and stuff like that. It's not like it's brand specific, like a battery for the SRAM or the battery for the Di2. It's just a type of cable, a shifter cable versus a brake cable, right? So you got shifter cables, easy to find, easy to source, easy to find, if you're traveling town to town, or if you're, basically hopping in your car and driving 2 hours away. there's more than likely a bike shop on the way to where you're riding that you can stop and get a cable if you needed to get one, or vice versa on the way home, something of that nature. You can find this stuff, right? It's kind of what I'm getting at with the Pro there. What other pros? What other pros are there out there for the mechanical side of the house? What do you think? You know, there's I get that there's going to be folks who, you know, that's all they want to do is stick with the mechanical, just because that's what they know. And I guess that's the part of the tried and true is it's also riders who also support themselves or do all their mechanic work. They're their own bike mechanics and stuff like that. It's easy to, you know, cling onto that knowledge, hold on to it, and utilize it over and over and over. And it's just, you know how to make it work. You know how to do the indexing on it. You know how to set the limiter screw. You know, things like that. So I kind of get it. It makes sense. Makes sense. But going back, cons. You know, you got your cable stretching. You got adjustments that you have to do over and over to keep it smooth as that cable stretches out, as your cable housing, you know, kind of goes limp on you. I don't, like, from a cable standpoint, you would run into, like, you know, my instance where it was freezing, where I've gotten dirt into the housing, and, you know, you get a bunch of mud gunked up around the cabling, stuff like that. You can run into issues, but at the same time, mud and stuff around the derailleurs is universal. You're going to cause probably the same problems across the board. If you get enough mud around a rear derailleur to where it can't move, that's going to happen, whether it's mechanical or if it's, you know, electric. I don't think it really matters, right? So, but yeah, I'm sure, once again, leave a comment, throw something in the chat real quick about you know, pros and cons of the mechanical side of the house. We already know the pros and cons of no gears, no shifting, no derailleurs. You either hate it or you love it. You know, I think it's fair to say that single speed is definitely not for everybody. Just like electronic shifting is not for everybody. And I know there's people that just don't want to deal with it, and I respect it. So, not a full beer. 37 minutes in. So next week, I think I will be dropping a video. This video will have a little bit to do with trainers, bike trainers, turbo trainers. So I've been dropping my videos on Fridays, every 3 Fridays. I may drop this one on a Thursday night, make it a premiere, and do a live stream leading into that. So kind of pulling a page out of Dustin Klein's, DK's book there, and I think it might be fun to maybe do a 7:30, 8 o'clock live stream, 15-20 minutes, dump it straight into the video that I'm currently working on. Hopefully it'll be ready to go at least by Thursday for the general public, and members should be able to see it possibly come Wednesday. So channel membership, it's got its perks. It's only $3 a month to help me out, you know, do some stuff, talk about things, and that stuff, you know, things and stuffs and things, right? So yeah, well, almost done with, well, halfway through the beer. I really appreciate you folks that have jumped in and joined me tonight on the first episode of Gears Over Beers. I still don't know, is it beers over gear or is it gears over beer? What makes the most sense? Leave that in a comment or send me a chat. You know, I think maybe it's gear over beers, but then I kind of like beers over gear talk. Yeah, maybe that's what it'll be. Beers over gear talk. Sweet, sweet, sweet. I'm about done here, FYI. I'm going to go ahead and end this poll and see what we got here. There's only 2 votes, and it looks like mechanical got them both. Wow. No electric folks over here. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Checking through the notes just to make sure I didn't miss anything I wanted to talk about, and I think we're good. And on that note, I will say good evening, and just remember folks, the journey doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep pedaling, and we will catch you on the next adventure. Cheers, guys.